Welcome back to Riding the Pine. This is our review of Game 17 of the 2020-21 Chicago Blackhawks season. Tonight, the Chicago Blackhawks picked up their 8th victory on the season, defeating the Detroit Red Wings by a score of 3-2, improving their overall record on the season to 8-5-4, and an impressive 8-2-4 in their last 14 games. But before we get to the review tonight, if you could do me a really big favor and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And please leave some comments down below. We would love to interact with our viewers and listeners and our Chicago Blackhawks fans. With that, I am rolling, I guess I should say, solo tonight. Uh, Everybody's having issues with their internet and dealing with shoveling and just the ridiculous amounts of snow that we have been getting over the last month, it seems like now. So I am flying solo. So this is probably going to be a little bit quicker review than normal. Yeah, let's get to it. Tonight, this is a game. This may be the first game I think we've seen of the season so far where Chicago shouldn't have won. And they did, which is obviously great, but they did not deserve to win tonight. The Blackhawks definitely got lucky there. A lot of people are trying to credit Malcolm Subban. I thought both goals, quite frankly, that he gave up tonight were suspect. I think the second one for sure should have been stopped. And I think, if you look at rebound control, and there were other forwards and defensemen that were just got lost on that play. Um, but overall, I think both of those goals probably could have been avoided. At least the first one could have been avoided with better rebound control, and the second one should have been just stopped. Subban went way too down, way too quick on the second goal, in my opinion. Um, but for the most part, I thought the Blackhawks were thoroughly outplayed tonight. Dylan Strome uh, didn't show up on the stats sheet, but he did, and I guess I should say stat sheet by meaning of points. But he did finish 63% of the dot, which is nice to see. Dominik Kubalik, who scored 2 goals, including the game winner in overtime tonight. Uh, his first goal, 5-on-5, to tie the game in the first period, by just a magnificent play by Brandon Hagel, who continues to impress this season. Uh, Obviously, getting rewarded with his promotion to the second line. Played really well. But if you remember and you recall, and if you've been listening, last game review, I kind of mentioned to Joe that uh, you know it's entirely feasible for Dylan Strome and Dominik Kubalik to have really good games against Detroit, just because we're talking about Detroit. So I would take both of those, players. Anything they do these 2 games is a huge grain of salt, or with a huge grain of salt. And a lot of people have been talking about Dominik Kubalik, and the Blackhawks themselves put out a stat that said he had 7 multi-goal games in 85 career National Hockey League games, as if that's supposed to be some sort of a great statistic. Actually, it's not. That's actually a really bad statistic. Number one, 7 multi-goal games out of 85 is not all that impressive if you're supposed to be an elite goal scorer, which is what the Blackhawks and their lackeys in the media claim to be. Um, but furthermore, and by the way, the media in this city is just getting worse with their coverage. Um, I don't know. We may do a special on the Blackhawks beat coming up because it's just getting ridiculous. But staying on the game, with those 7 multi-goal games, the reason why it's a negative statistic, that's not something that I would be promoting, is that it leads me to basically what I've said all season and all of last year. So Dominik Kubalik has 35 goals, 30 last year and 5 this year in the regular season. 35 in his 85 games. They just said, I believe he has 1 hat trick as well. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he has a hat trick. So if you count that as one of the 7 games, that means he has 6 2-goal games and 1 hat trick, I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe he did have a hat trick last year. So if you consider that, that means 6 times 2 is 12, and then 3. So that's 15 goals. So 15 of his 35 goals have come in 7 games. That means there's an additional 78. He has, let's see, 20? He has 20 goals in 78 games. That's, that's not impressive at all. I mean, that's especially when you consider the players he's playing with. And if you look at the massive drop-off in his scoring this year, because he's not playing with Jonathan Toews and Brandon Saad, now, yes, that's 20 goals over almost a full 82-game season, right? Because that's 78 games. But, you have to look at that and go, well, that's not as good as you think it is. That's like average, right? That's a middling top 6 player on a bad team that has 20 goals in 78 games, barely 20 goals in 78 games. I mean, what did Alex DeBrincat struggled horrifically last year, and what did he do? I mean, he had, let's see, he had 18 goals in 20 games last year and 27 assists for 45 points. That's a pretty similar numbers, actually, I believe, to Dominik Kubalik, except Kubalik had 30 goals and fewer assists. I think Kubalik had 47 points, if I recall. But to that number, even think about that. Even with DeBrincat struggling as much as he did last year, like he struggled mightily. It was well documented. He still scored 18 goals in 70 games. That's 2 goals shy of Kubalik in those 78 games, but again, 8 games shy of Kubalik. And we were talking about DeBrincat struggling. And now all of a sudden, Kubalik puts up basically the same statistics as DeBrincat did last year, but Kubalik is like a star and DeBrincat was horrible last year. No, like this selective bullshit that goes on in the I'm sorry, but this is bullshit. This bullshit that goes on in the Chicago Beat and all of them. I'm done defending any of them. Powers, Lazarus, Pope, Dietz, they're all full of shit on some of this stuff. Some of them have their perks, but all of this is full of shit. You're lying to the people. You're not reporting on the right shit. And you're like, it's selective, right? Oh, well, Dominik Kubalik, this first year's, player, he's the next, huge European scout find. He's putting up all these goals, 30-goal season. And then like now, until last night against Detroit, and I'm going to be interested. I think he had a 2-goal game against, was it Nashville? But like this guy who's supposed to be this huge prolific goal scorer, according to all of you, has only now 17 games into the season finally scored his first 5-on-5 goal. Like that's pathetic. And I'm not even going to count his other goal in overtime because it's not a 5-on-5 goal. It's an overtime. It's 3-on-3. And even his 5-on-5 goal that he scored tonight was literally all done. And this goes back to my point that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody ever brings this up except for me and a select other few people in Blackhawks Twitter that actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Dominik Kubalik sandbags off other players. Again, what does that mean? He is rewarded by the hard work of other players. Brandon Hagel single-handedly made that goal and that play happen tonight. Without him creating that turnover and then passing it directly to Dominik Kubalik right in front of the fucking blue paint for a tap-in goal. Like, I'm sorry, but Dominik Kubalik didn't really have to do much on that play, but go to the front of the net. He's always picking up rebound goals, etc. Now, at least I guess you could argue that on his overtime goal, he actually faked out the goalie with a fake out shot pass, right? Maybe you can give him a little bit of credit on that, but again, it's not a 5-on-5 goal. It's 3-on-3. Where is this guy at 5-on-5? And to my point, when he collected all of his points this year, essentially on the power play, and now the power play is starting to go cold, he's invisible. So, like, I don't want to, like, all these people, oh, Kubalik's back. It's, you're playing Detroit, and Brandon Hagel made the entire play on that first goal, and the second goal was in 3-on-3 in overtime at the end of overtime when everybody's, like, exhausted. Plus, the Hawks had been dominating that overtime. It's the only frame of this entire game that they dominated. And on top of that, they gave up a 3-on-1 in overtime that should have probably have been the game winner, but Zadina dropped the puck or misplayed the puck and it like rolled off his stick. But other than that, the Blackhawks should have lost tonight by all measures of anybody that was watching the game. But like, I'm just getting sick of the selective media criticism of like what's been going on with this team from like since the 2015 Cup run, which is really when I started paying attention to Blackhawks Twitter. Like, this reporting is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And by the way, I guess I'm just going to go off on a rant on that since I'm flying solo tonight. But where the fuck is the like Native American video bullshit that the Hawks were going to play before every home game? Nobody wants to fucking talk about that, eh? No? Why? Because people like me correctly pointed out that when you put the fucking video together, it wasn't even correct. Chief Blackhawk is not from Chicago. He's from the fucking Quad Cities area, eastern Iowa and western Illinois. He is 3.5 hours west of Chicago. He has nothing to do with Chicago. And you people can't even come here to like, in this, I'm talking about like the beat reporters and now I guess the Chicago organization themselves. You can't even come here. Like, you really want to reach out to the Native American people and educate them? Then why don't you fucking do a scholarship for some of your schools in the Chicagoland area and suburbs to send them out here to the museum where he actually lived? And you can literally go, it's a whole Sauk tribe museum and a state park. And nobody talks about it. There's a bank named after him. There's a freaking community college named after him. He's celebrated here. There's a giant, like wooden painted statue of him that was in a part of a bad part of town in the local area that was literally saved and landmarked because of the heritage after a big fire, and it's in the ghetto and all this stuff. And now it's just empty field because the building's gone and nobody wants to build there again because it's the ghetto. But the statue is still there because they felt it meant enough of our heritage and the meaning of Chief Blackhawk to keep that there. And he's celebrated here. Like, seriously, what happened to all those goddamn videos? There's supposed to be one video every home game. I think I've seen 2 all season. Where are they? And another thing, where the hell is Kendall Coyne? Remember when she was supposed to be the first player development coach and she was going to be out onto the ice and teaching, Patrick Kane how to shoot wristers? Where the hell is she? Nowhere. You know why? Because just like the Native American educational video shit that they were going to do, hiring her was nothing more than a publicity stunt. A publicity stunt. And nobody in the media has the goddamn balls to call it out. Look, I think women deserve to be in sports. Quite frankly, I thought Kendall Coyne should have been on the Hawks broadcast with Pat Foley and Eddie Olczyk. Why isn't she? You hired her. She ain't coaching. Where is she? Why isn't she on the broadcast? Or better yet, why isn't another female on the broadcast? I actually think that adds quite an interesting dynamic to the broadcast. That's something that you could do, and you won't do it. Why? Because of COVID? Oh, don't give me this crap. Like 2 weeks ago, the beat writers weren't even supposed to be traveling with the team. Now all of a sudden they're going to the arenas. Ben Pope was in Little Caesars Arena last night. Brian Hedger, former Blackhawks beat writer, is in the United Center 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago when they're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. You don't give me this shit about you can't hire. Like, if you're going to actually go out and hire women and be inclusive and be out in your community, whether it's with Black people, Native Americans, like, why don't you do a video about paying for equipment to get inner city Black kids in Chicago out onto the ice to play hockey? I don't give to, oh, well, we're going to help a Black artist develop a Blackhawks t-shirt or some BS. No! The whole point of all of this is to get Black people involved in hockey. Do it. Put your money where your goddamn mouth is. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Like, enough. We need to start holding the media and this organization to a higher standard. And look, and here's the problem, right? And I'm surprised nobody in the media has covered it, especially the left-wing liberal nut jobs who we won't even mention that call half their readers Nazis and racists. Those people haven't even jumped on the fact that they haven't been playing. Maybe it's because they're playing the video in an empty arena just for the beat writers and nobody at home sees it. I don't know. That's an entire possibility, but we are not seeing it at home at all. We get the pregame, then we get the pre-taped Jim Cornelison national anthem, and that's it. We go straight into the game. We don't see anything about the Native American education stuff. And we don't see anything about them supposedly doing all this work in the Black community. This is just bullshit. It is. But I'm really surprised because those liberals in the media, and we all know who they are, haven't been able to, at least yet, and that must be maybe why they're just not showing it to us viewers at home. We're showing it to an empty arena because, yeah, makes sense, right? Ironic. But just for these 10 idiots who sit up in the press box that don't even know what they're watching. And that's the other thing. I'll get to that in a minute. But, like, they haven't even commented on it. You're just giving fuel to the people that want you to change your logo because it's, quote, racist, even though it's not. It's not disparaging any Native American tribe because the Blackhawks aren't a tribe. It's an individual. And, like, you haven't even gone on that. And I know I'm going off on the, separate from the game here. But the other thing is, have you ever noticed these beat writers, when they get a nugget from a quote from a player, like the bumper roll? All I heard about, like, all of last season and into this season, especially with Dominik Kubalik, was, oh, they want him in that bumper roll to put him, down there in front of the net on the power play to get his goals and stuff. No. You don't hear it anymore because it's out of fashion, right? But you'll hear other things. And then, like, look, again, I love Scott Powers. I think he's probably, him and Ben Pope are, even though Ben Pope apparently doesn't like me anymore. Powers, none of them like me, but whatever. They don't like me because I call them out on their bullshit. Let's just be clear. And I don't let them get away with this nonsense. But even Scott Powers now will go and listen to the media clips, and then he'll clip the video of the plays that, like, the players talk about or Jeremy Colleton talks about, which is fine, but he's, like, analyzing it in his articles like he's some sort of expert. Scott, you're not an expert. Cut the bullshit. And half the time when you're like, there was at least one clip, I even mentioned it, I think, on this show, where he clips a play and then completely misses the play, completely like misstates what happens on the play. Because again, he's just going off of what somebody else said. Okay. Oh, and for another thing, these beat writers too also steal shit from people on Twitter. Like, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Like, some of their headlines for the articles, and it's like, I've had stuff stolen from me. I've seen other podcasts, whether it's Four Feathers, whether it's any of these podcasts online that are not done by the media, that are done by fans, that have their stuff stolen by the media. It's ridiculous. You need to start holding these people accountable. Anyway, I know I went on a long rant there just off Dominik Kubalik, but like, that's my point. Why isn't anybody in the media, in the beat, talking about the fact that if what that statistic shows is that he's not very good, or well, I guess I shouldn't say he's not very good. What it shows is he's average. He's an average top 6 player on a bad team. If you put him on a good team, he's not a top 6 player. He isn't. He just isn't. And I know that's hard for fans to stomach because you get attached to players and all of that. And a lot of what I'm talking about is because certain fans are attached to certain players. And it's okay. Look, it's okay to like players. It's okay. I'm not attacking you if you like Dominik Kubalik. I'm attacking people who are going out here that are just ignoring facts and are trying to twist facts into something that's just not true. He is not an elite goal scorer. He isn't. He's not an elite level player. He has a great shot. Yes. He's average at skating. He's average at passing. And he's horrific defensively. And you're seeing that this season. Anyway, I thought Nicolas Beaudin again had a great game, getting back to the game. Picked up an assist again on the overtime goal. We're seeing a lot of these rookie defensemen play in overtime quite a little bit, which is nice to see. Pius Suter also picked up an assist on that goal. I think Suter has 4 points in his last 5 games now. Let me confirm that for you guys. And excuse me, he has 3 points in his last 5, and he's a +3. Those are really good numbers for Pius Suter. To me, he's the, I think, to kind of correlate between him and Kubalik, I think it's a good comparison. Suter is much better. He doesn't have, he's, I think, 4 points behind Kubalik. I think Suter has 10 points. Kubalik has 14. But Suter just does all the other stuff. That's why Suter's playing more minutes. That's why Suter's on the top line. That's why Suter's, out there in overtime consistently. I don't really recall Kubalik, at least in recent memory, getting that much ice time in overtime. I was actually surprised and thought it was noteworthy that he was out there tonight. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice because I've been yelling, sort of. Not really yelling, but excited. Yeah. And Zadorov picked up his 5th assist of the season. And, that goes back to my point about the select group of people, whether it's the beat writers or other people on Twitter, who are just shitting on Zadorov. I've talked about this now, I think 3 game reviews in a row. Shitting on Zadorov because he's big and a little slower, and, he does make mistakes, and he isn't a top 4 defenseman. But he's got 5 assists already this year. And he was a +1 tonight. He's gotten Zadorov has 4 points in his last 5 games. He has 4 assists in his last 5 games and is a +2. And everybody, like over the last fight, James Nouveau wanted to sit him, as Joe pointed out to me the other night. And it's just like, you want to sit a guy that has 5 points and 4 points in 5 games and is a +2? Huh? On top of that, Connor Murphy's out? Are you nuts? I mean, seriously, what are these people watching? Because we're not watching the same games that I'm watching. Ian Mitchell again played 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure that's a career high for him again. 19 minutes for Beaudin. I'm sure that's a career high. Both Mitchell and Beaudin. Look, this young defense is something to behold. The more experience this defense gets, and look, like I've said before, Duncan Keith ain't going anywhere. He's got, I think, 3 years, including this season, left on his deal. So 2 years after this, I guarantee you, Duncan Keith's not retiring, barring some sort of horrific injury. He's not retiring at the end of this contract when he's 40, 41, I think. Like, he's going to play at least probably 2 more, if not 3 more seasons after this current contract's up. 23 and a half minutes again tonight for Keith at 37, going on 38 years old. He is a beast. He ain't going anywhere, fans. Like, you can pencil Keith on this roster for a few more years. And I think it would be really cool to see Duncan Keith, because when was he drafted? Was he drafted in 2002? To get, like, if he could get 20 seasons with the Blackhawks in, that would really be sweet, I think, honestly. Let's see, what is yeah, he was the 24th pick, 54th overall in the second round at the 2002 draft. First season was in 05. So if he plays the 05-06, so if he plays basically, what is that, 4 more seasons, he'll have 20 years in Chicago. That'd be impressive. I got to tell you, that would really be impressive. And actually, next season will be 20 years since he was drafted. You know, this guy is a beast, and rightfully so. I'm really happy for him. He is, and I think he's enjoying himself more this season. I'm not sure why I feel that way. I just feel like he's enjoying himself a little bit more than he was. And we haven't even talked about Mattias Janmark getting the goal, the first goal of the game from Carl Soderberg that Zadorov assisted on. That's his 6th goal this season. That ties his career, or not his career, but that ties last year's total. He's got 2 goals now in his last 5 games. He's slowed down a little bit point-wise, but still, man, I mean, 10 points in 17 games from Mattias Janmark. Like, Mattias Janmark's high for points was 34, and that was in a full 82-game season. He played 81 games. I mean, at this rate, he would probably break that pretty easily. At 20 games, almost, he's got, let's round up, 10 points. You got 40, 60, 80. That's 40 points. So he's having a career year. There's no doubt with Chicago. So that's great to see. And as I've talked about with Joe, I don't think, even if you keep him around past this season, as he's on a 1-year contract, I don't think you give him a lot of money, because I think this is a career year, and he's about that age to have a career year. I think he's 29. So he's probably going to, decline a little bit going forward with his career. But you got to love what he's brought this season. And he's a great 2-way forward. And also, I want to bring this up because I seen him in over. He. It's been 2 games in a row where he's been in overtime, and he is noticeable in overtime. He looks like he's got an extra jump. I don't know what it is, but when Janmark hits the ice in overtime, he's flying. He's all over the place. So that's something to keep an eye out too, I think long term, because as I've also talked about with this team, I think we're going to see a lot of close games like this. And that's what I've said. All these games, I mean, I'll have to go back and look. That'll be an interesting stat. And again, as far as I'm aware, nobody in the beat has talked about this yet. And that's this. Pretty much since game 4 of the season, almost every game, or even game 4, excuse me, but since game 3, every game has been a 1-goal game, it seems like, virtually, other than 1 or 2 here and there. The shellacking of Detroit game comes to mind that the Hawks played. Was it like 6-1, 6-2, something like that? I don't recall, but I think the Hawks put up 6. You know, those type of games, like that was the Pius Suter hat trick game. Those games have been few and far between. Pretty much every game, it seems like this season has been a 1-goal game, whether it's gone to overtime or it hasn't. I mean, the Hawks have 3 or 4 overtime victories. They have 4 losses. So literally, like almost half of their games have went to overtime. And then there's a few games, most recently the game against Columbus, that was a 1-goal game that ended in the final minute with Columbus getting the go-ahead goal. That was a 1-goal game. So there's games that end in regulation that are 1 goal as well. And you're looking at a lot of 1-goal games. And then when you eliminate those first 3 games, that's even more. Like if you look at just the last 14 games, how many have went to overtime? We already said there's 7. So at least 7 1-goal games out of the last 14, and there's probably more than that. So, and then the one game against Detroit that wasn't a 1-goal game, you throw that out again because it's against Detroit. So that's the type of hockey this team's playing and gonna play. It's defensively sound, and yeah, that's just kind of how it is. I think I'm going to wrap this up, though, as obviously my voice is starting to get a little raw after my little rant on the beat reporters, as well as the people on Twitter that just they twist facts to like try to help their argument, and it doesn't work. Doesn't work. But anyway, this, like I said, to open this, the Hawks did not deserve to win this game, but they did. So that's a nice 2 points, nice pickup game. Maybe this makes up for the game they lost against Columbus that they should have won. But yeah, this was not a good game. This is not one to put your hat on. I think Colleton said this isn't one we want to frame, and I completely agree with that. Uh, and I think it is kind of funny, isn't it, that Dominik Kubalik, who's literally been invisible all season other than on the power play, uh, scores 2 goals in the game that the Hawks should have, the first game that they won that they should have lost. So that's kind of an interesting note. But yeah, defense, again, the story, I think, Beaudin, excellent. Mitchell, excellent. Zadorov, 4 points in 5 games, +2, 20, almost 21 minutes ice time tonight. Duncan Keith, Iron Man beast, the king himself, 23 and a half minutes. Excellent season for Duncan Keith, in my opinion. And Lucas Carlson, picking up the rear with 15 and a half minutes. What more can you say with him? He's been a stable kind of guy. I think he's a great 7th defenseman, a guy you probably want to keep around. I think that's naturally going to be his role going forward. Dahan had an okay game again tonight. Wasn't noticeable for anything bad, so that's good for him. And Subban, look, I thought Subban didn't have the greatest game. I thought a lot of it was luck, to be honest. And but you got to give it to him, right? Guy stopped 27 shots on 20 or 27 of 29 shots, excuse me, 931 save percentage. Got the W. I think this is his second win of the season. So he's had, three halfway decent starts in a row for him now. So that's great. I expect to see. Well, you know what? I honestly wouldn't mind seeing Subban again on Wednesday. I think it wouldn't be the worst idea to give Lankinen a little bit of a breather. So you know what? Maybe we throw Subban back out there on Wednesday, get him another game. I think that might be a good idea. Get Lankinen well rested for Carolina coming up this weekend. So yeah, I don't really have much more to say on that. I mean, the team won a game they shouldn't have. The usuals, the usual things we've been talking about were the story. Whether it be Kubalik finally showing up, whether it be the defense that played really well again, goaltending's been playing well again, or at least their numbers indicate that. I thought Subban, like I said, could have been a little bit better tonight, but still had a good game. Won't take it away from him. Yeah, and like I said, they shouldn't have lost. I thought Lucas Walmark was invisible. Walmark played in the game. I will note I'm it's a little harder for me to be as in depth on this game simply because for those who have Hulu, you know that there was, because of the weather, issues with viewing the channel, and I had to Chromecast the game to my television from the NBC My Sports app, and that would go in and out as well. The storm has created quite a mess, I think, for people in their internet services and carriers uh, around the Midwest, and not just the Midwest, but the entire country, as Texas obviously is having a quite the experience with ice and snow, the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. But with that, everybody, I'm going to end this solo review. Thanks for humoring me with my rant, if you're still here and you survived that, the beat reporters and Twitter itself. And as I say always, um, we're living in some volatile times right now. So just please be safe. Take care of one another. Wear your mask. Be socially distanced. Try not to be an asshole on Twitter. Like, that there's some crazy shit that goes on social media and Twitter, especially. So I myself am trying to at least stay out of that a little bit more, and I think I have to a degree. I'm still getting into some stuff, but I think we're all human beings, and we need to uh, really just, I think, take a breather and try to love everybody, take care of ourselves, and get back to normal as soon as possible, which looks like it's just around the corner. So hang in there, everybody. And until next time, let's go Hawks.